Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Marta Shantrochova, and I'm the president of European Film Promotion. I would like to welcome you on this third open panel that we organize in the framework of Producers on the Move. And I would just start with a few words about European Film Promotion. It is a network of national promotional institutes from 37 countries. It has been established in 1997, and we organize a variety of programs and activities, mostly outside of Europe, with the goal of promoting European cinema and European talents. And it's my pleasure to pass the word to my colleague, Sonja Heinen, the managing director of EFP and also the moderator of today.
Thank you, Marketa, and welcome to our guests. So this is the third session, as Marketa said, in the framework of Producers on the Move. Producers on the Move is probably, as most of you maybe know, is our promotion and networking program for 20 very talented upcoming producers from all over Europe. And we thought we used the opportunity to run the event digitally again in order to invite interesting people to have chats and to be open for more producers to listen to these chats. So the main question for today, where we meet the co-production markets, is which co-production market fits my project best? For this topic, we have invited 4 important co-production markets to be with us today. And I'm very happy to welcome Marit van den Elshout from International Film Festival Rotterdam, who's here for the CineMart. Martina Bleis from the Berlinale co-production market. Amra Baksic Camo from Cinelink in Sarajevo. And Marge Liiske from Baltic event in Tallinn. So all 4, happy to have you. All 4 of you are attached to festivals with quite a lot of industry attending. And as we all know, there are a lot of other co-production markets and good initiatives throughout Europe as well. We have prepared an overview for all the producers in the watching the panel on YouTube, and my colleague Yo is just putting it in the chat so that you can have that. And yeah, so the main question for today is, to which co-production market do I apply with my project, or do I just send my project to every co-production market and wait to be picked? So we want to guide a little bit to the jungle, see which co-production market can offer what for which project, and what are maybe also a little bit the differences between the markets. But I think before we do that, we need to reflect a little bit, as we did in our pre-discussion yesterday. We need a little bit to reflect the current situation, which is not so easy for you, the co-production markets too, because I mean, you are meant to be exciting meeting points where people come together with great projects and other people with interest in these great projects, and they get to know each other, have a drink, or before they talk, of course, and then see if they could work together. But that is so much different in this online world. And we see that the situation is changing, and that probably after Corona is finally over, not everything will become back to normal. So I would like to start with a question on how do you feel about this situation? Are you thinking about new strategies? Are you keeping changes you have made so far? And I'm sure you are in the same insecure mode as everybody, but maybe share your views on this. Marit, may I start with you?
Sure, you may. Nice to meet you, see you all, and not see the people who are listening, but that's always the weird thing of these online online events. Thank you, Sonja, for inviting me. It's very nice to be here and to be with my great female colleagues, as we notice here. Yes, we are definitely thinking about changing, and we are actually in the middle of that process while preparing the second sort of installment of our 50th anniversary of the festival, which is also again unprecedented and something that we thought would be different and not so insecure as it is now. But in any case, we have a beautiful selection of films. I think one of the main challenges in the past year was to figure out, I think for all of us, what our core values are and our unique qualities. and how to stay true to and also what our responsibility was in this pandemic year. Our responsibilities towards new projects being developed, towards the film industry at large, towards just being cultural institutions to begin with, so in the world. And we did that by gathering quite a lot of people in autumn to talk about different, like, what do festivals, what should they be for audiences, what should they be for industry, and we tackled different topics, and that was actually immediately a plus point of the way of the online way of working, because we would never gather that many professionals together in a 3-hour brainstorm session in October, and also people that would never be able to travel to Rotterdam in January. So that was actually immediately the upside. I think the first year for all of us, we had to go online. I think now the most challenging time starts, and that is to figure out what we can be in the future. I think a lot of our unique qualities lie in the way we organize things, where we organize things, the people that we work with, locations, and this really goes, I think, for Rotterdam. Of course, curation is key, but also the way we are centralized in Rotterdam. We bring people in a gray time of the year together in one building, and we connect them to audience and industry alike. I think that was for us one of the difficulties, because that is one of our unique selling points, and that is why people love coming to Rotterdam, is the atmosphere there and at the festival. So how do you replicate that online, and how do
now
we do
you
that
have you have your audience, or the Rotterdam fans, and they are coming back. There are a lot of Rotterdam fans, so there will be a lot of industry following. It doesn't matter if it's online or in real life, but still it's changing, and I think it's true.
I think momentum is still key. So I think all of us, we can do more things throughout the year. And of course, we have already initiatives throughout the year which we already had, but will be amplified now. The way we work with Hubert Bouw's Fund, also our online platform. I think the attention from the industry to our program, I'm very curious to see what that would be in June, because there are other events coming up. There's Cannes coming up, for example, and of course the Berlin installment, also the second installment of the festival. So let's see how that will go. But
second installment sounds also
second
good.
Installment sounds weird, right? Yeah, all these new words. Second edition
good.
or second part.
Martina, to Berlin, how is for you?
Yes, waiting for our second installment to start soon. I can second what Marit said. It's, of course, it's been a big change this year where everybody had to go online, us included. And the question will be, as you mentioned earlier, the question will be, what do we keep of the elements that we had to invent newly and develop newly this year? And some of them proved to be quite successful and quite inclusive also for people, because they allowed people to participate for whom it would otherwise have been difficult to, for example, to take the creative team into their meetings with them entirely. And so that was a bit a change compared to before. And I think that is something that we need to consider, like how can we stay inclusive also in coming years when maybe we can go back to traveling here, but maybe not all parts of the world will be able to go back to traveling. So we will definitely have to and want to keep some elements of the online version that we had this year to make it possible for everybody to participate.
Yeah, and also I guess that same as we do. I mean, before we were traveling to all, let's say, possible festivals, and now for the future, everybody is thinking, oh, where is it necessary for me to travel? So you probably have to offer them also something for those who decide not to travel. Amra, how is the situation in Bosnia?
For us, it's additional problem because our time is during summer. So, last year we were fighting also, that was in some countries, that was one of the very few actually easy months in, pandemic. So it is difficult to put people in front of the computer for a longer period of time in August. So, everything that Martina and Marit have been saying, for us, it's additional pressure because there is sunny world outside, when we are doing our Cinelink. So all the industry platform, all the activities. So what we are trying to do this year is to extend it a bit, to kind of focus during the, the festival period, but actually have a kind of repetition in a month after the Cinelink, to have the opportunity for the people who are either vacating or for different reasons cannot participate in those days. I'm sure that, you know, we are talking what to do next year and how in the years to come. And of course, you know, we started talking what is the future of co-production market, this online word, you know, many years ago. But this kind of saturated the situation, and now we have to decide. It is not the question of, you know, it is not of the question, are we ready, you know, or do we have a good idea how to proceed? But now it's, you know, now it is what it is. And, you know, I know, as you said, many new words. So hybrid is one of them. So, you know, I think our lives are going to be very hybrid, you know, and our events are going to become quite hybrid. It's going to be, I don't think there is anything that can, you know, replace personal contact. And I think all of the places that we are talking about, you know, Tallinn, Berlinale, Rotterdam or Sarajevo, you know, there is a personal, you know, there is a personal thing about those things. You know, when you go there, you feel welcomed by certain people, and that will never change. But I'm quite sure that we will not, you know, pollute the planet any, you know, more than we used to, and that we will be more, you know, and that we will be more, at least, you know, at least we will calculate. Because actually, I realized that some of my trips could have been emails, not even Zoom sessions. So I think that should stop.
Yeah, that's a bit shocking, this revelation. Marge, for Tallinn, I mean, Tallinn is in early December. And,
November, last week of November.
Last week of November to early December. And so you were taking place physically, you were taking place hybrid already last year.
Well, that was for the industry. The festival took place half physically, half online, because the festival still welcomed, I think, 120 guests. So to come and promote their films that were screened for the premieres, etc. And that was really nice experience because all the COVID protocol was, of course, taking into consideration. No one got ill. No one. Well, there was no problems, but still 120 instead of, I don't know, 2,000, which is like 1,500, which is usually the case. But we decided with the industry programs to go online already in August in order to what we worded at the time to be inclusive for everybody, and that not only for the lucky ones who can travel or who cannot. And of course, what we also see, what the other markets have seen, we had more participants because people were able not to travel. Even if they wanted to travel, but what we had last year was the range of people who submitted projects and the range of projects we selected. We had go to so far as to Philippines, coming to Estonia online, and this is something that we keep. We keep both versions. How to make it, we will figure out. We will definitely develop the online project market part, online talent market part, the matchmaking, curation, and what would most likely happen, I suppose, is people meet online and then they will follow up somewhere in the physical space where it suits everybody. That might be the key to the co-productions, because otherwise you can't co-produce with people you haven't met, you haven't sniffed, you haven't took a beer in the bar, as we all know.
Thank you, Marge. So let's go into the explaining a little bit your different co-production markets. So what are you looking for? What kind of projects are you looking for? What can you offer to the project? How is usually your selection going? And which, when I submit my project to you, what can I expect? What happens to me? Shall we start with this? Who wants to start this time? So maybe Marit again.
The $1 million question. I always find this such a hard question, but I will try to answer it. So we have been around for quite a long time, and actually the CineMart came from CineMart was actually first a fund, which is now the Hubert Bals Fund. So Hubert Bals, the founder of the festival, he wanted to help his friend filmmakers from countries that he was traveling all over the world to finish their films, and this was a lot in the Middle East, Africa, Asia. Latin America. So actually CineMart, the co-production market, was developed out of this fund because there were already good film markets around. And then Sandra at the time, then Hamer, felt that we needed a place where people could co-produce and find partners. What I'm saying is that means that CineMart is always very closely connected to the Hubert Bals Fund and the kind of films we support there, but also to the festival. So we're sort of bit stuck in the middle, I would say. So of course we look for very high artistic quality, for author-driven projects, but also we have, because we're a market and these projects need financing, so we're also looking for projects that can do something in the market, of course. And I think this has also really developed over the years, where before we were even much closer connected, and when it was more easy for art house cinema to be distributed, we would have the much smaller, low budget projects. I would say now it's more low to medium budget, and there's a bit more crossover work in there. But it's always author driven. We always look at artistic quality, and it's very close to the lineup of the festival in general.
Would you say, Marit, that small to medium budget, just for those who might think about that, would mean so up to 3 million, up to 3-4 million?
Up to 3-4 million,
yeah,
and
okay.
We've had projects from as small as 200,000
okay.
budget-wise.
Do you need financing in place? It's helpful, maybe?
That we're not super strict on it, although I think the stage of the project for bigger markets like CineMart, and especially, of course, the Berlinale, is very important, because we have all the key sales agents there, the producers there that are looking for new work, but especially now, there's so many platforms around in the world, it's very easy to burn your project in a too early stage. So of course, if we have projects from countries in Asia or the Middle East or Africa, it's sometimes difficult to have this local financing in place. So for European projects, that's maybe more of a strict rule. If there's development funding already from your national fund in place, that gives a key of or a stamp of approval also to a project. But this for other countries, this is different. But then the stage of the project, the producer behind the project, the stage should be far enough, so the script should be developed. They should be ready to get into financing. They should really understand also the financing structure that they are looking for. So there has to be a solid plan A and hopefully plan B as well. So I think more to have as a producer the idea of what you can find at the market for your project, and to have an idea of how you want to create the financing structure is maybe more important than having that 25-30% in place. And really the stage of the project, because if you meet every day for 4 or 5 days 10 different potential partners, you need to have a story. You need to be clear and have a plan. So that's, I think, more important.
So Martina, over to you. Maybe you can take up from Marit and say, because it is a bit different in Berlin.
It is a little bit different, and maybe you should actually say that, because you were originally heading the co-production market. So nice to be back together here. Yes, but anyway, so when we were founded in 2004, the idea was behind it to find a place, to create a place for the producers that are here present at the festival and that want to do their business and that want to do their co-productions, because we had the big market already, and we have a festival with 20,000 accredited guests here, and many of them very active in the European film market. But there was no space really for the producers. So we wanted to create a place where they didn't have to sit in the hotel lobbies and occupy all the cafes and everything, but create a space where they can come, and where also the other people looking for projects like co-producers and sales and other financiers can find a curated selection of projects that are viable. And we wanted from the beginning not to compete with CineMart, but to create a compatible, like a complementary profile. So we picked from the beginning more higher budgets. I think nowadays we're more similar probably in the range, because the budgets have generally gone down so much of art house cinema. But for us, for example, the budget can go up higher, but it rarely happens. I mean, we rarely have a project that has more than 10 million euros as a budget, but we're open for that. We would be. And we are more producer driven. So for us, it's really important that the producer already has done co-productions before, because we feel that here the market is so busy that people don't really have so much time to explain co-productions to the people they're sitting opposite. So they really need to be able to talk business right away. There are exceptions, because we do also have the talent project market as our collaboration with Berlinale Talents, where producers can come with no co-production experience and no budget limitations. But generally our budgets start at 750,000 euros for specific countries and 1 million for most countries. And I think maybe we should mention once that this is all about fiction co-production markets mostly. I mean, that's what we're focused on. We do have the odd hybrid project. Hybrid is a good word. Or animation, if it's like an art house animation project, but it's not our main focus because there are other markets catering for that. What we also include is series though, because we have joined forces with other initiatives and the market here at the Berlinale to create the Berlinale series market, to which we all contribute with our specific abilities. And what we installed here at the co-production market is co-pro series. So meanwhile, we have a selection of 10 projects each year that we also have pitched to an audience. There's a specific invite group more dealing with TV to this session. And then we organize meetings for them as well. And we have 35 feature film projects. And also we present books at Berlinale for many years now. And there's also some very exciting films coming out of there where we connect the literary agents with producers. That's our main
Thank you, Martina. And I just mentioned in between, please, producers in the audience, do ask questions. Yeah, we are hungry for questions. I mean, as we all know, one reason, or why do I, as a co-producer, as a producer, want my project on the co-production market? Of course, I want to find partners. Of course, I want to find financiers, but I also want to make my project somehow famous. I want to have a stamp of approval. It's sometimes it's important for co-production market, for a project to be visible somehow in the co-production market. Now I come to Amra, because you also take projects in more early stages. Yeah,
but it is.
Tell us about the Cinelink.
There is one specific. We started basically just a little bit for Berlin, and it is our, I think, 19th year now. But what we started with was actually working, for the regional industry, because we are the regional festival. Our competition is regional, and the Cinelink is regional, meaning these days it's something in between Austria and Turkey, going up to Georgia, Azerbaijan, and Armenia. So we are selecting projects from a specific region, and that therefore it is also answering the needs of those countries and of those producers, those directors, those authors that exist in our in our region. So we do not, it is not one thing that we do. We try to kind of accommodate the need of the industry on one hand, and also what is the international kind of market is looking for. So the selection is changing a bit. We are definitely art house driven, but we also take, for instance, if we see there is a project from one of the countries that can work well regionally and be more commercial, we will take it. We will not say, okay, this is not whatever Berlin competition type or Rotterdam Tiger type film, and we will not take it, because we think it is what it is. It is our regional need. And therefore it is difficult to say what is kind of, you know, red line in our selection. But if I wouldn't be, I can pitch every single project and the need to take it. This is important for us, that we know why it's there, that we understand what that project represents in the region and internationally. Of course, there are more kind of easy ways to say, this is it, this is what we take, and what we take is what you can imagine in, you know, being presented in at the festivals and what being presented at the, in general, you know, art house cinema, but also something that can work regionally. Therefore, we also started 2 parallel sections that are also Cinelink, but they are not co-production markets, it's work in progress. On one hand, where we are choosing projects that are in a later stage because this was the need in the region. We find out that there is a need for that. And the newest thing is Cinelink drama, very similar to Berlin, where we are presenting drama projects, serialized content, as a matter of fact, also from our region. So it's a combination of things, and there is no, difficult to say a typical Cinelink project. This year we are trying to, you know, have lower number of projects because we have a feeling that at this particular moment there is a kind of, you know, market is very crowded with the projects have been developing before, and most of our projects from 2 years ago, from 3 years ago, didn't move forward. So, you know, in order to answer that question and to say, okay, what is our this year edition, we are going to a lower number of projects, and those probably we would say that it will be a combination of projects that are in a very, very early stage, which we also take, and with zero financing in place. And on the other hand, projects that are, for instance, 70% funded and only looking for the final deal in order to produce it.
Okay, thank you, Amra. But I think it's also with Cinelink, it was a bit, Cinelink was growing very, very fast because I remember it was a kind of little jewel, you know, when some people traveled there and said like, okay, so some interesting filmmakers to discover, and 5 years later everybody was going there in the East. So it was the festival somehow where people went, and that made it also being a kind of more open industry place, and that
for, you know,
maybe also.
We talked about selection of the project, but our guests are international guests, and you know, regional market only has a purpose if attracts the whole, you know, if attracts outside of the region, because it is not supposed to be a ghetto of Southeast European filmmakers, because we don't need that. You know, this is not what we need. We need a place where you can, if you want to make a project that is valuable for your region, go and make it. Also, you can present it in Sarajevo, but also for something from outside. You know, what it is going to be now in the changing world. You know, this year I hope we will be a meeting place for those from our immediate region, from those who can travel even by car, for instance, and come to Sarajevo for, you know, to spend 3 days. And it will be kind of back to the old days, I would say.
Yeah.
You know, it would be back, you know, when we were small and people are saying, oh, cute. If we manage to be cute this year, it would be really nice. It would be really nice.
Otherwise, we can rediscover you next year.
Yes. And then let's see, you know, for the next year.
Okay, thank you. Marge, to you, tell us about Baltic event, because that also grew quite a lot in the past years.
Well, yes, I think the co-production market grew with alongside with the festival. The Tallinn Black Nights Film Festival celebrates its 25th anniversary this year. And all the industry events 20 years, but the co-production market started in 2005. And of course, it also grew from the regional Baltic films showcase to what is very international now. We accept projects from Baltic countries, of course, but also the Nordic countries, so-called new EU countries. I will not list them because it would take maybe too long, but also from Bosnia.
We find it in the overview, which we
definitely. It means we take projects from the region we know how to work with, we know people, we know the financing system, and we can help the projects we select to find co-production possibilities and financing. And we are probably somewhere in between artistic and audience-friendly projects. I would say audience friendliness is definitely, because I can't say commercial. We don't produce commercial films in our small countries because they struggle with distribution, worldwide distribution. This is what I would call a commercial project, with a budget up to 3 million, but more around 800,000, 1 million euros is something that I think our small countries producers feel comfortable with, but it has been also over that too. Last year we even had a project from UK with 8 million euros budget. It can happen.
And Marge, for example, the project from UK is then coming because it looks for partners in your region, yeah, mainly.
Exactly. This is something that it goes on like for 4 years now or 5 years. We accept projects from all the other countries in the world. If they are looking for co-production partners, they can also find, we have had a Bulgarian project, had a German co-producer ended up in Cannes selection. It means like it can be a very odd, if you think you would not find in Tallinn, but as we know our guests, as we know our professionals coming, then we already in selection, we make a little matchmaking in our heads so to choose the right projects for the right guests. And
any
it's
budget criteria? No budget criteria.
Some money, some money in place, because but it also depends on the project, of course. Being mostly European, we know that our films are made with public money. So in order for project holders to get somebody on board, they need to have something. Otherwise, it can just be talking in a void, because it can be interesting, but people need security more today than before.
Yeah, but somehow. I think it's also important that people know, if I come, for example, from Germany and I don't have the German financing attached, and I then go to a producer from France, how can the producer from France ask for funding in his territory for a German project when I don't even have the German? It's probably, it can happen sometimes. I know quite some cases where it happened, but it is not usual that it happens that way around, right?
Yes, but it can be also in our corner of the world, taking on board like projects from Armenia and Azerbaijan or Georgia, who has not yet the financing, the public financing, but thanks to the visibility they get also their funds open for the production, let's say.
Yeah.
Then it case by case also a little bit.
Yes. So we have a question from the audience, which sounds easy, but is not so easy to answer. It is, which co-production market do you recommend for independent first feature filmmaker with a small budget? So it depends on the country, I would say.
Which country, exactly.
So if the person who asked the question can provide us with some more information, it would
what did the filmmaker do before?
What are the questions you are asking? What did the filmmaker do before? It's a first-time feature, but if you have a strong short film,
where did they go?
Absolutely eligible, absolutely. We look at the previous works. If they are first-time filmmakers with strong short films, absolutely welcome. But then we want an experienced producer to be on board, because co-production is something you can't just try out. Let's try out for the first time.
And for us, it's different. We would, if the project is from the region, and even if it's upcoming producer and upcoming director, we will take it. And then we will mentor you in a way, to make your first co-production. We will probably, as you said, Margot, we will kind of know our guest, and then we will put I will try to attract somebody who is very experienced to meet you, somebody who can be there for you from the beginning. So
I guess it's the same a bit for us, actually, because we, of course, are working so closely, and especially in recent years when Hubert Bouwsman started to fund more co-production next to its development funding. because we also work with projects. Well, we also have projects from the States, but because we also work with projects from countries where it's very complicated to get financing for certain stories and for certain, or just complicated to begin with. Now in Brazil, for example, or India, or simply, but especially sometimes because social and political, it's touching on social and political issues or sensitive stories. So we are also really used to mentor the projects. So there's often a connection to the Hubert Bals Fund. We also decreased the number of projects already before the pandemic a few years ago, because we wanted to be more of a launching platform. So we are a co-production market essentially, but I think we're also more of a launching platform and trying to bring these filmmakers and producers into the market. So we don't always have obvious projects that lend itself really for 3-country co-productions, but they look for sales agents with us, or they look for other sorts of partners.
Yeah. So the question was coming from Turkey. I just got the information. So
I would start with meetings on the bridge then.
Then I would start with the meetings on the bridge.
And Sarajevo.
maybe there we come to also other co-production initiatives we can mention, because I think it is sometimes really important to see in your area who is there, like for example meetings on the bridge in Turkey, and we have a lot of other co-production markets. It starts when East meets West in the year. We have, please help me out, then we have
Sofia film meetings.
Sofia, of course, we have Sofia comes then.
And of course, CPH Docs for documentaries.
CPH Docs for documentaries. We have, then there's also the market in the MIA market in Rome. We have Connecting Cottbus.
Venice.
We have Haugesund for the Nordic.
For the Nordic. So I think there
ITVA Forum.
ITVA for documentaries again.
Doc Leipzig, did we mention?
Doc Leipzig. There are
and of course, serious markets as well, dedicated serious markets like Series Mania, or also C21 is doing something. We're just including it as part of our selection.
Yeah, I think it's always good to see if there's, if you are in a special way of filmmaking, like documentary or a series or so, I think then it's best, or animation. Sometimes some animation projects or VR, some animation projects is good to be on a normal co-production market, but for some animation projects, it's maybe better to go to ANSI or to go to our cartoon movie or to other forums. But I think it's also a question when you're looking more for mentoring of the projects. I mean, the co-production markets are also, you mentioned it, the visibility. Yeah, there your project becomes visible, but you have also to be in the right moment that the project shall become visible. Because when you then 3 years later have still not any financing attached, and you go with this project somewhere, people will know and will probably remember this title, and then that is what Marit mentioned with burnt in the beginning, and then the project is just burnt. And I think that is really, you have to be careful with this project.
Sonja. Especially,
you think so? It's even more,
especially now in this time. Yeah, because when you have the physical meetings and you are together at a co-production market for a few days, and people get to know you as a filmmaker and producer, but this human interaction is now so much less. So your presentation, we've also asked a lot more from our project teams. They had to prepare pitch videos, intro videos, that we really put them to work to help us make them stand out.
Visible,
So I think now even more so, your project has to be solid, and your plan has to be solid, and your story has to be straight, and because it's so much more. All these platforms online for people to take the time to really look at your pitch and meet with you online. I think rather than going somewhere for 4 days and also seeing a nice city and having a nice dinner with friends and meeting you and spending time, I think it's even more crucial now.
Yeah.
And then therefore it's sometimes nice to go to smaller local markets, because there you can test out already your project and make it grow.
Yeah, I have to maybe add something from my personal visits at other co-production markets through this last year, because Marit just mentioned this the project has to stand out. Because what I used to do was I would print the brochure and then I would take the notes in the brochure when I had a meeting, like in Sarajevo, for example. You stopped printing your catalogs long ago, so you always had to bring your stuff when you're more a physical person. So I would take the brochure and I'd put my notes in, and then I would take it back and have it with me. But nowadays, because I'm in several co-production markets, sometimes in the same day, because like I'm in the morning I'm in Beirut and in the afternoon I'm somewhere else. But it's very hard to remember sometimes where did I meet which person and where did I meet which project. And also you don't have anything printed because you do it all at home. So I had to start a booklet where I just write everything down, because otherwise it just gets really blurred. Like who did you meet where, which project did I actually meet, which people did I actually meet. And to stand out in these online meetings that we've had over this last year is very difficult to make this personal connection so clearly and so close. So yeah.
But
so
I have to
a bit sidetracked, but
no, it is not. But I also want to say something. You know, there is other part of the whole co-production market story, and exposure. There is overexposure. You know, there you can also burn your projects by overexposing. It is being selected to all of these 4 markets will not help you.
It will also not happen, I think.
It will not happen. But even if you dream, even if you manage, and we are all blind and we don't read each other's programs, it will not help you, because big part of the industry that travels, that co-producers art house, is the same. And it's a question, what are you looking for? It's also the question. So if you are a filmmaker from Southeast Europe and thinking where to apply, and you can actually apply to all of those 4 markets, it's also the question what kind of film you have and where you want to go. So it is not you have to also have some kind of a strategy, at least, or hope to have a strategy. It is not as important as having a festival strategy in the sense of distribution, but it is important to understand your project from very early on, and to understand where you want to go. I remember, we all probably do, when there were projects that were everywhere, and people were talking why. Why?
I don't think it happens anymore. It's a very important question you raised, Amra, because this is something that we learned for a long time ago. Not taking overexposed projects because the guests are very much the same. But nevertheless, project in Sofia can come to Tallinn because it's different. But connecting Cottbus and Tallinn, no way, because it's kind of the same target countries and guests.
So, but that means for the audience also, you should know what you want when you go to a co-production market. And if you want rather to be mentored someone, I'm sure that all our colleagues who are here today will be answering your emails, for example. Also, if you say, okay, I have this and this, and I would like to have this and this, I need the visibility, or I need that, I need a co-producer from there and there. Sometimes also you need something very specific, and then it's sometimes better just to ask someone if he can help you with advice or an introduction. And I think all of you are ready to help producers with an advice or and an introduction to someone else, because sometimes there's no need to wait for a co-production market just for the one final whatever. Yeah. So we have another question. Which is a bit special. We make children's series with puppets aged 6 to 9 years. Is that also an option for co-production at your co-production markets? Did you ever have something like that?
Not for us, but there's Syndicate for Professionals in the Netherlands.
There is a Syndicate for Professionals. I would say that's the address. Yeah.
So
we did have a long feature puppet, because in Estonia there is a very an old and famous puppet animation studio. So we had, and we will start serious markets this year. This serious co-financing, not co-production, co-financing market, but probably Syndicate, or then I don't know, Unsee takes serious, because specialized would be better for, let's say, it's very specific from 6 to 9 puppet animation. But you can always look for a co-producer in Estonia, Nukufilm, a very good and old studio.
So you can contact us, we lead you to Marge, or you find it in the little overview we sent you, and she finds you co-producers in Estonia. And or you could have a look at Cinekit in the Netherlands. And Annecy is coming up, the Annecy Festival and Market is coming up in June. Also good.
And I think Malmö is also still there.
That's what I wanted to say, Malmö as well. Yes.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, great.
And Brain.
I wanted to add one thing about the projects, not going to every market, but sometimes we have very successful actually projects that have traveled from one to the other market, like we do with CineMart, with Marit from the beginning. We have this collaboration, the Rotterdam Berlinale Express, and those projects are amazingly successful. Like, for example, Jojo Rabbit, that won Academy Award last year. That was one of the projects in this, or also the Golden Bear winner this year, Raduju's film was also, and it was only last year in the Rotterdam Berlinale.
That was a quick one. That was really an experience.
but also, for example, Quo Vadis Aida is a project we had in the co-production market. But I think I first spoke to Jasmila and Damir in Sarajevo about it when I was there the year before. So, and there it was really a good trajectory for the project too.
But that's part of the strategy then, I think.
Yeah,
I know, but it's such a different. I think that is, it's a prototype. Every single project is a prototype, and nevertheless, that you can find some kind of, things that you say, okay, this project maybe can do the same as or similar as. Every single project is a prototype, and it's a feeling of what you need to in a way what you need to do. So I wouldn't even the rejection of co-production market sometimes is not a message about the quality of your project. It's just a question.
No.
So it is not. Our rejections are much more. There are many other things in those rejections than the simple than the simple statement about the quality.
That would maybe also be kind of the final question, which I would like to ask you, because maybe you speak a little bit about how you select your projects, because it is not a pure quality thing. It implies many other things, and also you want to be of use for the project. So this is included maybe there as well. And what do the projects expect? What happens to them when they are selected?
Who do you want to start?
Maybe now Marge can start. Let's do it the other way around.
Marge, you mean, right? Or
Marge.
Okay. How do we select? We do have a selection committee, of course, that is composed of international producer, festival representative, a salesperson, a screenwriter. So we read the projects, but we also look at the whole package, meaning who is behind the project, what are the previous films of the director, what's the marketing strategy, what's the financing strategy, what's the project really, what it is about and who it is for. And then, of course, we look a little bit at the slate we have. So we can't take on board, let's say, 5 projects on the Second World War, or 5 projects, even if it's important, on domestic violence. We try to make a slate that would find different co-producers or co-financiers among our guests. And then we last year with the online, it was a little bit of a difficult decision for curating or not curating, because this is what we always did for the last almost 20 years. We curated the meetings and we made the serious matchmaking with the projects. We will definitely do that again, even more than before, and lower the number of projects. Last year we had, it was incredibly good submission year, incredibly strong projects. We selected 20 projects, but we will take it down. Usually it was 15. I think we will stay between 12 and 15, and then we can really put people together for their specific needs. And we coach, of course, for the pitching. We will try to give some financing advice for those who are less experienced. It is as a new feature we will now install, exactly for the reasons Amra said. Some are not so experienced in financing. Of course, we prefer people who know everything, but it doesn't happen. Young people come on board, and we will be very happy to help them to move forward with the project.
Yeah, otherwise it becomes boring, right?
Yes, otherwise it becomes boring.
Already.
But it could also work. And this year we will start a new collaboration with London Production Finance Market and see for more, as we mentioned, commercial or audience-friendly project that could take a larger interest also from the financing side.
Thank you, Marge. Amra, you said, I mean, you are very regional driven, so it's somehow a little bit clearer your criteria.
You know,
also,
for our criteria, it's the beginning, you know, and it is not about the production country. It is more about, you know, where the main author is coming from. So even if it's director coming from, you know, originally from Bosnia but lives in Germany, we will, and if the, you know, the delegate producer will be from Germany, we will, if the project is anyway connected with his history, with the family, with whatever, with his or hers, you know, connection to the region, we will take it. So we take the region as big as we can, you know, as wide as we can. We choose project based on the, as Marge was saying, it is not only reading the script or, you know, in certain circumstances, we also take treatments, but you have to ask us. And you have to explain why a treatment. And we read all the package. And actually, we do pay a lot of attention how well the package has been made and how much effort people put into the package. Not because we like to say, oh, you know, you have this mistake on the page 3. Not because of that, but because we will spend 4 months with you, 5 months, 6 months with you. And if you didn't put enough effort in putting the package together, then we know that you will not be putting enough effort in the next months to come. So it is not us being difficult. It is just simply being, you know, realistic. And it is something that we learn over the period of time, that those who don't put enough effort into putting the package together usually are not easy to work with. There is one specificity connected to Cinelink that it is that we have a development workshop. It started from the history and started from our region. It started from the fact that we really needed it and we couldn't put projects directly to the market at the very beginning, nor projects from first-time filmmakers, but we couldn't put also projects from more experienced filmmakers directly to the market 20 years ago. Now we can. So basically what we do, we choose projects. Some of them are going through development workshops. Some of them are going directly to the market. So if there is an experienced producer with an experienced screenwriter and the director and 70% your money in place, we will not put you to the workshop, you know, because we don't know what to do with you, you know, at the workshop. But if you are first-time filmmaker coming, or, you know, even experienced producer, but a first-time filmmaker wanting to get some script consultancy or, you know, project consultancy, then we will do a workshop at the very beginning for you. And it is us team from the festival is the one that is selecting. We have been selecting for many years. It's a very complex process that is difficult to explain because we know each other so well. So, you know, it's almost in a way personal how we do it, and we even pitch projects to each other. If I like the project and one of my, you know, colleagues do not, then I really try, you know, to persuade that person into the project, and then I pitch it. And the best pitcher out of us is my colleague Elma, you know, and when she pitched the project that I usually don't like, I'm like, oh, how come I didn't? So it's really a process. It is not like, you know, math. It is not we say, okay, 23 points, that's it, it goes in. 22 points, no, it goes down. You know, it's not like that. It's a process of selection because we need to be persuaded, because we need to persuade other people.
Thank you, Amra. Good, great. Martina, anything to add?
No, those are two important points that also Amra mentioned. Like, first of all, please make your application thorough, because that's
Please
also,
do not Google Translate.
It's really your knock on the door. Yeah, also, it's really your knock on the door. It's your entry that you have with this form. Like, if you don't fill it in, if you don't put any intention in filling it in, or you just leave out half of the elements that we ask for, you're not making our lives easy, and we're also not sure if you'll make your co-producers' lives easy afterwards. Also, in terms of we have external selectors with us, but all of us, I think, know our clientele and our market quite well, because we're really trying to find projects that we can really help here. So if you are looking for, every project that we select, we have to select it out of 500 applications. So that's a lot. So we're trying to pick projects that we can also make, if possible, the maximum amount of meetings that we can make, which is usually around 30. This year it was even up to 50 that we had for some projects, because online allowed us for more meetings. And we are really trying to pick projects that we can also make a lot of these meetings, if possible, that makes sense for them. So if you're only looking for something, really one country where we don't have a lot of participants from that country, it doesn't make sense for us to select the project. It doesn't make sense for you, because we could introduce them to you on the side. Mm-hmm. So that is quite important for us, that we can really help you. And we do have certain criteria that you can read. I mean, we're worldwide, that's one thing, so that we don't exclude any regions. That makes it harder for us because we have to select from everything that comes in, but or can select from everything that comes in. But we do have certain criteria, and in some things we can maybe bend rules. But if your project doesn't really fit any of the criteria that we have, then please don't bother doing all the effort to submit it.
We had also just a question saying that the film doesn't have a chance to attend the international markets without firstly getting funding or attending film market in its own country. But I think that was answered already. You can, it is important for when you come from Europe, it is probably more important that you have already some financing attached, because it's more difficult to find then co-producers in other countries, because this is how Europe works, that you go for the funding in the national country first. But there are also opportunities, at least in Cinelink, Baltic event, and CineMart, also in the Berlinale co-production market, because for Berlinale it's important to have some funding in place, but it's not necessarily the own funding. It happens often that the own fund from the own country doesn't understand the beauty of the project. It happens sometimes, and still it can be good, but then you need some other financing. And Marit, anything to add? Because we are running to the end.
I will be very quick. No, so 30 projects in total, of which 8 are part of the Boost NL program, which we do with the Netherlands Film Festival, with the Holland Film Meeting. So that is a program in which we select 4 international projects that have received Hubert Balsfond funding, and then 4 Dutch projects, and that is very tailor-made. So they speak to space scientists, psychiatrists about anxieties and phobia. So really specific needs of specific of the projects that we try to cater to. We have 4 VR XR projects together with VR Days. And then we have between 15 and 20 new projects that we select also out of around 450 applications. We have a structure where we work with a pre-selection system, so you don't have to send your full package immediately. We work with entry forms with the basic information. And we also work with external readers from the industry. So we always have salespeople, producers. We try to rotate that a bit, but they're always people that are working closely with us. And once a project is selected, as you say, artistic quality comes first, but then further in the process, we look at geographical spreading, we look at a balance between emerging talent and more acclaimed names. We look at, as Marge said, we can't have 20 family dramas. You look at sort of an eclectic bouquet of, like a beautiful bouquet of flowers of what the world has to offer. We're also worldwide. And we... once we have the selection finished, we start working with the project teams on what their specific needs are and what they're looking for. And every group of projects has a mentor, which is of course, like last year we had Ada Solomon, this year again, actually. I mean, that it's not really called a mentor. I mean, we have really experienced producers, but there it's almost more of a guiding person to sort of brainstorm with about your strategy, to help you set up your meetings. So the meetings are very tailor-made. So we have the industry asks for meetings, but we also the teams work with their mentor to also create a schedule or a list of people that they want to talk to, and we really try to mediate there. So it's a long process from when we make the selection to when the market happens. Yeah.
And just
I don't know if that was quick enough.
Yeah, that was absolutely perfect. There is one question, but I just some of you mentioned hybrid content films. What did you mean by that? There was a question also referring to that. Martina, you mentioned this, I guess.
I mentioned it, and what I meant was, for example, that we're mostly focused on fiction feature films, but we did have, for example, Sonja, that was still your selection, your pick, Samuni Road, for example, which ended up winning Best Documentary at Cannes, because it was a hybrid it was basically an animated documentary with fictional parts, but that fitted our event. Because it was also something for everybody who attended our market that could invest in that.
It's the same for us, yeah. And we also look at sort of more art film kind of projects sometimes. So we've had those as well. Yep.
Okay, so my dears, I could talk with you forever, but I think we need to wrap now. Thank you very, very much for being so open, for joining, for being so open.
Can I say one last thing, Sonja?
Of course.
I think now is the time for the producers that are listening that we also need to really hear from you what your needs are in this new world and new situation, also to adapt our markets accordingly in the future. So I just want to do that shout out to the producers that are listening.
Thank you, Marit. Thank you. Thank you very much to all of you. Thank you also to Creative Europe, the media program, and Eurimage, who are helping us to set up Producers on the Move every year. Yeah, so have a nice afternoon, evening, and bye-bye.
Thank you, Sonja.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thanks.
Take care. Stay healthy.
Ciao.